So not only did CIMA introduce a new pathway last year, but they've also introduced some new entry routes and a new exemption and registration process. And some of you here today, or by the sound of the chat, quite a lot of you might not be familiar with the way it used to be. So it's all new for you. Others of you might be familiar, and you maybe were interested in CIMA last year and you're now getting back on track with your registration and exemption. Either way, it is quite tricky to work out how to register, how to apply for exemptions, and even to pick an entry route. But that's precisely what we are going to be looking at today. So today we're going to cover an introduction to CIMA. We're going to look at the qualification framework. We'll discuss entry routes, exemptions, how to register with CIMA. We'll also look at IBTC study methods for all the routes, and we'll end with a bit of a Q&A session. So let's kick off with a poll to see who we have in the audience. You should see something pop up on your screen right now. It's really asking, you just joined, you just started, are you registered with CIMA but you're waiting on your exemptions? Where are you? Do you already know your entry point, certificate level, ops, man, strat? And I use all these little nice abbreviations or shortening, which will become very familiar to you over your CIMA journey. We like to shorten everything because CIMA like to give everything a very nice long name, and then we make it more palatable. Okay. Cool, we've got about 70% of those of you who've popped your answer in the poll. I'll give it another couple of seconds. Okay, most of you, 70% of you have just started your research. I see you haven't registered with CIMA yet. You're probably still trying to work out, is CIMA the right route for you? Or maybe you haven't registered yet because you don't really know where you're going to start or what it all entails and what you're going to have to kind of commitment CIMA is going to take from you, or what toll it's going to take on your life. Okay, right, I'm going to call it there. It looks like most of you are in the, I've just started, and then we've got a couple of you on each level, which means that you've probably started, have written a couple of exams already and something like that. Okay, so I'm glad to see that we've got quite a good mix. So let's take it from there. Oh, shame, I could share the results for a second. Oh, stop sharing. Oh, okay, I'm going to close that. Right. So now that we've just done that poll, we actually recently did a poll with our student community, Pilisa. We wanted to know what was important to students and what are the top things that they look for when choosing a college. And this is what the results say. They say number one is student support. It's the most important thing for students, student support. Following that is accreditation. In third place, we have results. So make sure that the college you choose or the tuition provider you choose has got good pass rates. And the fourth most important thing to students is the quality of the material and the tuition. That makes a lot of sense, I'm sure. Does this resonate with you, Pilisa? Are you surprised to see what's important to our students?
Charissa, no, I'm actually not surprised at all. I think when a student chooses to sign up with a college, they do so specifically because they want someone to help them properly. I think sometimes students feel that they can do it on their own and save money. There are always a good number of students in my class who felt they could do it on their own. But after having failed their exams numerous times, they then decided to sign up for classes at IBTC. Ultimately, they found that signing up with the college really helped them to cut down on their study time and help them to stay on track. Yeah.
Sure, and I'm sure the accreditation is obviously also a concern to students in South Africa due to the many fly-by-night colleges that are out there. You don't really want to sign up with a college that doesn't have the proper accreditation, and then you lose your money trying to get this very good qualification.
True. And we know that one thing students really care about is really a pass, yeah?
Yeah, did you know that we're the only college who consistently publish our pass rates? So good news or bad news, if you follow us on social media, you'll see us, we share our results quite openly. It took IBTC about 8 years to get to the point where we have consistent, remarkable pass rates, and we're really proud of them. We stand and fall by our ability to get our students to pass first time. For us, it's really a partnership between us and the students.
Charissa, I want you to explain to me what's behind the IBTC's remarkable pass rate.
Well, there are probably two things that we do differently to anybody else. So one is we've partnered with BPP in the UK, and they are a global CIMA tuition provider who also work closely with CIMA Global. And we have the exclusive license to use their resources in our courses. So through our partnership, we're able to bring in world-class resources. So I feel often when you're studying a global qualification, you really should have access to that global expertise. And then the other thing that makes us different also is our focus on remarkable service and hand holding. It's the care and the support that we give our students that really underpins our good pass rates.
Thanks for that, Charissa. I think I should share the next slide with you, where we're going to look at some pass rates. So we know that CIMA recommends Kaplan material, and as a lecturer, I know that as well. But we went against the grain and we're exclusively using BPP material. And that's because we simply get better pass rates with BPP. So here we compare the global CIMA pass rates against the pass rates achieved by all students who use BPP resources. This includes IBTC students. So traditionally, your BA2 and P1 are known as very tricky subjects. And you can see our students perform 20% better on BA2 and P1 than global average. And you can see why we consider ourselves case study experts. We got a whopping 92% pass rate at strategic level. And on average, our case study performance is between 10 and 30% better than global average.
Sure. So the truth is really that you're about 60% more likely to pass with IBTC and BPP.
Charissa, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Pilisa, do you think that CIMA is for everyone?
Charissa, so often students are wondering if they should do their honors next or do CIMA or an MBA. I mean, nowadays there's lots of qualifications, online, virtual, physical. They want to be sure that CIMA is the right career choice for them. I think the truth is that CIMA isn't actually for everybody. I think because we know this, because CIMA combines business and finance, it's almost like bringing an MBA and psych rolled into one. Generally, the rule I follow is that if you like tax and auditing, and then CIMA is not for you, because compliance is really what you enjoy. If you enjoy business performance, looking at costs, then it could be the right thing for you. A large part of what we look at in terms of financial accounting is about looking backwards, dealing with past transactions that occurred in the past, whereas with management accounting is really about looking forward, dealing with budgets and focus, pricing, looking at future risk and strategy.
Another reason to study CIMA, and one of the ones that I chose, or wish I'd actually made the decision a lot earlier than I had, is that it's a professional qualification. So you get an actual designation when you study CIMA, or when you qualify, you get the letters CGMA behind your name, versus an academic qualification, which is just a diploma or a degree that doesn't mean for me as much as a professional qualification. I feel a professional qualification offers you more opportunities and better value for money, for time, money and time spent on your actual studies.
Yeah, that's true, Charissa. I think it's also because CIMA is a respected and well-known qualification across the globe. When I check the last numbers, we're probably about 200,000 professionals now that are in this field. You can work around the world or right here for a global company if you want to. FYI, like myself, it's a very portable qualification. In fact, 95% of the world's top brands employ CGMAs. This means that you will be immensely employable.
So I think this competency framework also helps when you are motivating to your employers what skills and competencies you're going to gain on the CIMA qualification. So it's a good illustration here. You can see that there isn't just a focus on technical skills, but also on people skills, business skills, leadership skills, and it's all centered around the ever important and ever growing area of digital skills. And this is really the foundation for the qualification and your coursework and your exam. So they're going to examine you on all of these competencies, which is handy to know.
Yeah. To sum it up, Charissa, I think what I like CIMA is that CIMA is where business meets finance. And for me, it's a finance qualification and it's a business qualification. It's like being a CA with an MBA, as I shared earlier, which means that you're competent in a lot of areas and you can play a multitude of roles. And if we look at some of the roles you can play here in the next slide, you'll see that you can play quite a few roles as CGMA, starting at the C-suite roles, but also the non-financial roles, even roles such as marketing manager and strategic planning manager. And you see the finance roles, obviously from analyst all the way to financial controller. And then, of course, there's the consulting roles that one can play.
Yeah, this is a great illustration, especially for those of you who are looking for a new role. This is a good idea of what you should be looking for. What I like about CGMA is actually I have a previous boss who started out as an accountant. He was on the financial accounting side of things, but then he became the CFO of the organization, then took on operations under his wing. Then he did his CIMA studies, became CGMA qualified. Then he moved into marketing, headed up new business side of the business, which then took him traveling all over Africa. Then he came back to South Africa as the CEO. And that was really all that moving around was on the back of his CGMA qualification.
That's impressive, Charissa. And again, it talks to what we said earlier about this qualification being a global qualification. But also, I think what everybody tends to be interested in is the next slide. Here we also look at the salary, of course, and CIMA's annual salary survey reveals that on average, CGMAs in South Africa earns around 884,000 Rand per annum. I know some students that were in my E2 class who were averaging around 35,000 per month, and that aren't even fully qualified yet. If you look in other parts of the world, for example, in the UK, you'll earn around 63 pounds, which is roughly equal to about 1.2 million. This is according to a real CIMA survey that was recently conducted.
Sure, that's quite a lot. Also, what came out of that survey was that the average basic salary for CIMA students in South Africa is around 13% higher than the national average salary for similar positions.
Yeah, in these tough times, Charissa, I'd say that's a great reason to study CIMA.
Fantastic. Okay. So let's take a closer look now at the actual CIMA qualification. Which is this whole image here. I hope you can all see exactly what I'm doing, but I just want to annotate so I can just draw and show you what I'm doing. Okay, so the entry route to what they call these 3 levels, which is the professional qualification, is an open entry certificate level here. Okay, then the professional qualification consists of 3 levels and 3 pillars. The pillars are the enterprise pillar, which is the enterprise really means the business pillar. Then you move on to the performance pillar here, which is really the heart of the qualification. And then lastly is the finance pillar, which is your classic accounting, financial accounting pillar. So when you're looking at this, the enterprise pillar, and you'll see that it works all the way up from certificate level all the way through to strategic level, this is where it looks at business models, management of people and projects, and this is really where strategy is formulated. Then when you move on to the performance pillar, you'll use your management accounting and your management skills to ensure that the strategy developed under the E pillar is realistic. And this is where you're going to monitor its implementation and where you deal with costs and budgets, pricing, capital expenditure, managing costs and performance and things like that. And it really have you focus on skills to progressively identify, classify, and evaluate and manage risk. Then you move on to the financial pillar, which is really focusing on the financial accounting and reporting obligations of this business, so back from the E pillar, and ensure that the regulatory framework and external reporting requirements are met. This is where you learn the ability to construct and evaluate complex financial statements to show the financial position and performance, again, from here, performance of the organization. This is where you deal with things like business tax, tax implications of financing decisions, and really where you'll assess the risks identified in the performance pillar. Pilisa, perhaps you can just talk us through the subjects a bit. What can we expect on each subject?
Charissa, how much time do I have? Okay, now I'll make it briefly. So let's look at BA1. At BA1, you'll deal with what we call macro and microeconomics. So economics at a micro level and at a global level. And then BA2 is really where you deal with costing, planning, dealing with controlling business. This is really the introduction to the field, which is management accounting. BA3 is really about the standard recording of financial transactions, really preparing accounts and analyzing financial statements. Here it is assumed that you have very limited knowledge in terms of financial background. At BA4, this is where you deal with the company administration. We talk about this qualification bringing business and finance together. This is more on the business side. Administration, dealing with CSI, legal matters such as employment contracts. Once you pass all these subjects, all 4 of them, you get what is called the certificate in, or the CIMA certificate in business accounting, which is equivalent to NQF level 5. When we move on to the professional level, this is where it really gets into it. So you got E1, P1, and F1. Quickly, E1 covers things like big data, shared services, traditional business functions like sales, marketing, and HR. P1 is really where you get into it, right? So dealing with manufacturing, things such as marginal absorption costing, budget pricing, and those kind of topics. And F1 is about dealing with cash flow, probably the most important term for every business in nowadays. Dealing with inventory days, payables, and receivables, and obviously looking at preparation of financial statements. You pass all 3 subjects, you write what is called operational case study, which is my baby. And once you pass that exam, you then move on to, you get what we call CIMA Diploma in Management Accounting, which is NQF level 6. Moving right along, you get to the managerial stuff. You got E2, where you look at things like business models, project management. You got P2, where you deal with management costs, looking at just-in-time topics and KPIs, so performance of the business. Then you got F2, where you deal with group accounts. This is where consolidations become a lot important for most people. Once you pass all these subjects, you then write what is called a managerial case study. But a very good lady there called Precious that'll help you through that, which is obviously the certificate there is the CIMA Advanced Diploma in Management Accounting, which is NQF level 7. And finally, you get to the strategic level. Here we're talking the C-suite level, more like a CFO, CEO, COO type of style. You'll have E3, where you deal with models around pastel, SWOT analysis, looking at the purpose, vision of the company, and value chain analysis. P3 is all about risk. It's also very topical nowadays. Risk map, risk control, cyber risk, and very strategic risk. And then obviously you got F3, which is my favorite subject, actually, where you deal with how to fund a business. So a combination of long-term equity, debt, looking at mergers, acquisitions, and the likes. On completion of your final case study, your academic component of your studies will be completed. And you just need to complete your proof of practical experience to be awarded the CGMA and ACMA designations. Obviously, this is equivalent to an NQF level 8. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, let me just erase actually and close that down. Right. Thanks for that overview, please. I think it's quite nice to understand kind of what goes into each subject so that you know what you're getting into. So now let's take a look at the different routes to completing the CIMA qualification. So there are 2 routes. One is called the traditional PQ route or professional qualification route, and then we have the FLP route. On the PQ route or the professional qualification route, you have to work through 13 subjects. So 13 competency exams, or OT exams, as we call them, or objective tests actually is the long name, but we all call them OTs. And then you also have to sit your 3 case study exams, which Pilisa just spoke about earlier, at the end of each professional level. Yeah. So in total, you've got 16 exams if you don't get any exemptions. So you've got 4 here at certificate level and then another 9 up here. 12 up here. So on the PQ route, you prepare for your exam any way you want to. You can do it on your own with your friends, books, you can join a study group, you can join a college, you can study online, offline, hybrid, it doesn't actually matter, because when you are ready, you then book and write your exam. On the PQ route, you can buy 1 subject, 2 subjects, a whole level at a time, 2 whole levels at a time. You can buy your next subject only once you've passed your previous subject. It's a very pay-as-you-go flexible situation if you go through with the PQ route. Now on the FLP route, the Finance Leadership Program, you only have to write these 3 case study exams, the Ops, Man, and the Strat case study exams, because while you still have to work through these subjects, the competency exams are now, it's continuously assessed on the FLP platform. So you have continuous assessments on these, you answer questions throughout your studies on these subjects to prove your competence, and you only sit the case study exam at the end of each level. So on the FLP route, you cannot study on your own using textbooks and then sit the exam. You have to sign on to the FLP platform through a tuition provider, and then you complete your OT competencies on the CIMA platform, on the FLP platform. On this FLP platform, you will also get all your study material, and interspersed in your study material are activities and questions and little videos and snippets in lieu of the exams that you now don't have to do. So you'll also find your case study exam prep material on this platform. On the FLP platform, in this instance, or sorry, in comparison to the PQ, you pay for your time. It is a subscription model. So it's not piecemeal or as flexible as PQ. You buy a subscription, you pay for access to have access to all the study material across all the levels, and then you have to study as much as you can in the time that you've bought. Okay, so you can either buy a 1 year, so imagine you buy a 1 year subscription, you must be dedicated and try and race through or try and get through as many subjects, your continuous assessments, then to move on to your case study exam as possible in that period. Okay, FLP is obviously quite a big upfront cost. You pay for your 1 year subscription or your 2 year subscription or your 3 year subscription, while PQ is more of a pay as you go model. On the PQ route, I feel that you get more into the detail of subjects. You probably learn more and go a bit deeper because you are preparing for an actual exam, because you know your subject content so well. Then your CIMA case study exam should technically be a bit easier for you, okay? Because you're going really into depth, and you're preparing for that one OT exam paper instead of doing continuous assessments over a period of time. On the with FLP, while you don't write subject exams, your chances, you might then struggle when it comes to case study with gaining that deeper knowledge and being able to apply the case study or apply the skills that you've learned in the case study. Maybe just that foundational knowledge isn't as deep as it would be on the PQ route. But what we're finding is that the pass rates are quite similar at the moment. So, and it is a much faster route, okay? What's important to know is that whether you're on the PQ route or the FLP route, you will write the exact same case study exam. So the level of knowledge that they're expecting from you in that paper is the same. Pilisa, when looking at these two routes, which do you prefer?
Charissa, thank you for that explanation. I think, yeah, what I like about the FLP route is that there are fewer exams and it kind of looks like you'll be qualified a lot faster. But what I liked about the traditional route is that there's more rigor. For me, it feels like you're doing, it almost is the reason why you're doing this qualification, right? To pick up skills, to learn more and work better. I think with PQ, I believe you'll learn more and your work performance will be better. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I think there are pros and cons to both. I think the hard part with FLP is at the case study exams, I think the students don't know what to expect or aren't quite sure how they're going to be examined, as you know, in comparison to the PQ students who really dug deep into that content. So they may be not as familiar with the OT subjects as one needs to be.
Yeah. And with the traditional or the PQ route, I think the case study exam should be a lot easier because obviously, I mean, you've gone through the content, you've written the exam, so it's a lot easier. But the pressure point, of course, is that you got to write those exams and pass them, obviously. Yeah.
Yes. So it's definitely a bit of a personal decision and just weighing up those pros and cons.
Yeah, that's right, Charissa. And the financial.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, Pilisa. I think we've just muted you accidentally. Hang on one sec.
Yeah, and I was just saying, yeah, so it's also a financial decision, of course. I think you've explained the different packages, and we're going to talk about costs a lot later. So the PQ route is a bit lighter on the pocket. It's a pay-as-you-go, like you said, and you can also do it in small chunks, like one subject at a time, whereas the FLP is a bit of a upfront capital layout, yeah.
Yeah, not to mention that you also need to stay committed for the duration of your subscription period on FLP. Yeah. Okay, so now let's look at exemptions. So this is usually the point where I see a whole lot of questions flying on the chat, because this is the one that's the question that most of you are very interested in. Before I get started though, it's important to know that if you choose PQ route or the FLP route, both routes start at certificate level unless you successfully apply for exemptions, and you'll get the same exemptions if you're applying for the PQ route or the FLP route. So it doesn't actually matter. Get your exemptions and they'll tell you exactly where to start, no matter which route you end up taking. Okay, so the exemption process has changed from about 2 years ago. I mean, it's changed in the last year, but based on what it used to be. Exemptions are now awarded based on 3 criteria. Okay, so first one is your professional qualification. So your membership with CICA, CIPA, ICB, ACCA, whatever it might be. It is dependent on your educational qualification, so based on your diploma or your degree from a university, etc. Or it's based on your experience and your role, and that route applying for those exemptions is called the elite program route. Okay, so what you do to apply for exemptions is you have to email, you can get in, sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. Let me just start with number 1. It's quite straightforward. This is really where you just apply for exemptions based on your membership. Number 2 is where you apply for your exemptions based on your degree or diploma. There is, with your degree or diploma, your starting point will change depending on how old your qualification is. So as an example, and with your professional qualification, before I just say that. So as an example, if you are ICB qualified and you qualified within the last 7 years, you'll start here at E1, at the E1 subject on operational level. If you started after that, so if you qualified after that, as in longer than 7 years ago, you'll start 1 level down. So it's the same, it's pretty much the same across all the qualification, anything that you've got already, any educational qualification or professional qualification, it changes after the 7-year mark. Okay, so as another example, if I took a BCom Finance Accounting qualification, you would start at management level E2. If you have a BCom Finance Honors, you'll start at the management case study level. So there are various and assorted exemptions that you would gain depending on what your qualification is. Okay, as a general rule, the qualifications older than 7 years will start at a lower level, but if you have experience, you can start at a higher level. This always causes some confusion. I've got the degree, do I also have the experience? How old is my degree? How long have I had experience for? And so students are very concerned, what will I get? How do I apply? Which route do I pick when I'm trying to register with CIMA? And because you're trying to do it all before you start studying, this is where it does get really tricky. So to put it out there, IBTC's got a direct contact at the exemption team at the local office, and we can help you to find out what your correct starting level is. Also, we have dealt with thousands of students all in the same situation as you. You've got this from UNISA, you've got that from Stellenbosch University, you've got this from UCT, I got this 5 years ago, but you got that 7 years ago. So rather come and check with us first. And we'll help you through it. I'll talk more about how to go about that in a sec. Let me just get through the third way, which is your exemptions based on your experience level, which is you get exemptions based on your level at the company and your experience in the finance and accounting arena. So not just, I've worked for 4 years. Have you worked for 4 years in a finance and accounting role? Okay, the elite program is an expedited pathway based on your level of experience, and you'll get into one of the 3 programs, and basically it's, do I start at the operational case study, the management case study, or the strategic case study level based on my experience? So, and they're called elite academic program, the senior executive program, and finally the CFO program, which is really for C-suite individuals with more than 10 years experience in accounting, finance, and business. And that's a great one to have if you do, because you only have to write 1 exam, which is the strategic case study, which is fantastic. Okay, so if you have any questions about exemptions, really you must just chat with us. We'll help you and we'll get you on the right track.
Yeah, thanks, Charissa, for that. And I think you mentioned it earlier on, and it's a very important factor that, the academics are the academics, but what really sets a tuition provider from the next is the level of support and hand-holding that they take you through. But just to put a word of warning in terms of exemptions, if you've been exempted from a subject, right, CIMA assumes that your knowledge is very good of that subject. The fact that you've passed it means that you understand the content, in the way CIMA has, that CIMA has presented it. So before you accept all your exemptions, our advice is to go through the syllabus document, which is available for free, and highlight areas that you don't feel comfortable with. If you find that you are uncomfortable with between 40 and 50% of the content, we recommend that you actually do not take the exemptions. Rather spend the sufficient time recapping that subject to get you ready for it. But also, your case study exam requires thorough knowledge of the E and the P and the F pillar, as Charissa explained earlier on. Make sure that there are no knowledge gaps, right? Make sure that you've recapped these areas before starting your case study preparation. Our elite courses are designed to help students who are exempted from these subjects, but when we provide lectures and material, we include the E, the P, the F material to help you with this. Now, it is important to note that when you apply for exemptions, that the new website is just a guide only. So it's not like if it suggests that you're going to get it to managerial level, that it's exactly that. Ultimately, your exemptions have to be approved by the South African exemption team. But we do find, based on history and experience, that about 95% of the time that, what the website recommends is normally where more or less you'll start it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. I tend to agree with Pilisa on that. Make sure you are very clear on your exemptions. And it's often better to not take an exemption. For instance, if you were exempt from P1, because that is a pillar subject, rather do P1. It'll give you a much better foundation for moving up your qualification into P2 if you're worried about it. And it'll, in some instances, save you time and money, because you won't go on then to fail P2 because you will have passed P1 and you'll have got a really good understanding of it. Okay, so moving on to registration. You're a new student and you now want to register with CIMA. To register, it's quite a lengthy process. Make sure you don't try and do it when you have a 5-minute break, more like a 55-minute break, because it's so all over the show. First, you've got to go and create a profile or a login on the new website. So your first job is to register an account on the CIMA Global website. Then you have to, so you now have registered on the CIMA Global website. Now you have to go and register again as a new student. And this part is where it gets a little bit tricky and where it's quite easy to make the wrong selections, resulting in you starting on the wrong level, and then CIMA can't understand why you trying to start management level when you should be starting on operational level, when they then go and audit your application. Because what they do is when you first register, they say, oh yes, you'll start at management level based on your selection, and then within the next 21 days they go and review your application and any documents that you've sent through. And but why on earth did we think that, did you make that selection and now we have you starting at man level? You actually should be starting at ops. So you'll save a whole lot of time and effort if you do it properly the first time round, and you don't want to be in trouble by accidentally giving CIMA incorrect information. Okay, so how you solve that problem is, if you are a new student and you don't know what's going on and you're worried about making the wrong selection, please join our free CIMA Assist program. You email info@ibtc.co.za with the subject heading CIMA Assist, and one of our consultants will get back to you. They'll send you the list of information to send back, and we will help you register properly. So one of the big things is that, register CIMA Assist will help you out. But then I do just want to take this opportunity to mention that if you've ever registered with CIMA before, maybe in years gone past, all you ever had to do was pay one registration fee, then you got your exemptions accepted and you started your studies. What they have done in the last couple of months is that now when you register, you not only have to pay your registration fee at that point, you also have to pay an exam fee. So it's kind of like, hey, in an E subject. So if you're on certificate level, it'll make you purchase a BA1 exam credit. But if you're on any of the other levels, it'll be E1, E2, or E3. And what they're really trying to do is lock in that exam for you as you register. So it's to encourage you to sit your exam. You know you've already paid for the exam token and you just get on with your studies. I think what they've found in the past is that people register and then don't ever find the courage to sit for that first exam. So this is a way of kind of locking you into that exam, but bearing in mind that exam token is only valid for a year. All exam tokens and fees are only valid for a year. So if you don't use that token and just book an exam, you'll lose your money on that, sadly. Okay.
Yeah, Charissa, that's quite a very complicated one and a lot to remember. Is there help for candidates online?
Yes, so absolutely. As I said, when in doubt, please just let us help you. We've been around for long enough. You know, when the new website came about and when the new exemption process and registration process came about, our team of consultants literally spent hours scrolling through the website. If I choose that option, what does it do? If I choose that option, what does that do? Oh, but if I choose that option with that level of experience, what does it do? And we feel very confident that we now know exactly how to apply for the right exemptions for you, and make sure that you get it right the first time around. So just make use of the CIMA, IBTC CIMA Assist. Email us with the heading CIMA Assist and we'll get on to you as quickly as possible. Just another point to note, normally I have a little note in the January open day, is that your exemptions, because they take 21 days to 100% confirm, and if you're trying to start your studies now, then you want to get on this exemption and registration process sooner rather than later. Make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row before you start class or before you start your online course or whatever it might be in the next few weeks. Okay, so now we've covered registration. Let us move on to study methods. So this is really, let's look at ways to study. How are you going to prepare for your exams at IBTC? What are you doing? Are you doing the PQ route? Are you doing the FLP route? So let's look at the PQ study methods first. With IBTC, you've got the option of attending classes. You can do an online course. You can do supported home study with us if you want. So any of these three options. So I still realize there's a red line across my screen. That's been there quite a while. Our classes will start in Feb, towards the end of February. We usually start around the 25th. I'm not sure of the exact date. I'm sure Vanessa can pop it in the chat. And so you want to hit the ground running. You can study a few chapters prior to class starting. So I know we've got the 18th, so classes start in just over a month. Now is a good time to sign up, to make sure you get your material in time, make sure you get all the information, and to get cracking on your first class readings. Included in your class package is 13 live online classes with your lecturer. So you'll be sitting in a Zoom session just like this with Pilisa or one of our other long-standing lecturers once a week. And as well as you also get access to our online hub where you'll find the recorded lectures by a UK lecturer. And these video lectures cover 100% syllabus coverage. So it's really like getting Pilisa and a UK lecturer for the price of one. 2 classes for the price of one. Then we've also got online courses starting every month for every subject. This is where you get your study material sent to you via courier. You get access to the online portal. This is where your video lectures are, your tests, your practice and apply questions, all of that, but you're on a schedule. So it'll say, submit this assignment by this date, submit that assignment by that date, and they're trying to move you. So it's not, you're not in class, the lecturer wrapping you over the knuckles. You have an online hand holder support person who's telling you submit now, submit now, submit now, and keeping you on track on your course. There's a fixed start date. You've got a cohort of classmates, and they can be from all over the world, which is always, I quite like that. It gives you a bit of another kind of global view, and you obviously chatting to the other people in your class as well when you're in your group. And you've got a tutor who is responsible for making sure that you get through your subject. You've got to follow quite a fast-paced schedule on that online course. Really, it's getting you exam ready in about 8 to 10 weeks, guaranteed if you follow what's on there. So I always like to only do one subject at a time on the online course because it is quite fast-paced. I don't have time to take 2 subjects. But follow the steps and fail. If you follow this, not follow the steps and fail. If you, by any chance, follow all of those steps and you still fail, you can always come back for free. It's our Pass or Show promise. Then we're looking at the Home Study Plus package. This is where we deliver you the books. We give you other support material and another study plan to your home. We give you a student support person to look after you and track your progress. Those of you who've ever studied with us before, please don't look at the phone and see IBTC calling and just turn that phone over. We really want to speak to you and make sure that you're on track, and we will phone you often to make sure that we're tracking your progress properly. On this study option, we also give you access to the online video lectures, so it's like being in class, or it's like coming, but you get to do it from home and in your pajamas and not at such a fast-paced schedule. Okay, so some other cool things to know is the pre-recorded lectures are recordings of some of the UK's best lecturers, so those with the consistently high pass rate. So those are also the people that you want to listen to, as well as your local lecturer who also has high pass rates. There are revision recordings for the last few weeks before exams. There's like lovely little summary videos and things like that for little, where you need to brush up on a certain topic. If you attend our virtual classes, you also get those recordings, but you'll be in class once a week with your lecturer for a period of about 12, 13 weeks. Maybe, sorry, some a bit longer, especially in this first semester, I think, where there's a couple of public holidays where we give you a few break weeks. Yeah. And then lastly is Home Study Plus, which is, we used to just send out the material to you and give you your tutor, but we thought we've got all these video lectures of all the classes, we may as well just include them for the home study students. So now all of our students get the benefit of video lectures on the Home Study Plus program, which is fantastic. So I hope this clarifies how PQ courses work.
Surely does, Charissa.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. So while we are on let's just stick with PQ, I want to talk about quickly how to plan your studies. I'm quite passionate about this. So for those of you who weren't listening to my previous slide, please pay attention now. If you are preparing to write any OT exam, so if you're thinking about the PQ route and you're going to do one or a couple of subjects at a time, this is really important. We strongly recommend that you do not take more than 2 subjects at a time. In fact, my preference is for only 1. But if we look at this, in this example, say you're studying E1, could just as well be BA1 or P2 or F3 or whatever, and you're attending virtual classes on a Saturday. We have a never walk into a class cold phrase that we like to say to our students, which is don't come unprepared. Make sure you've done your readings. So you're going to come to class once a week for each of your subjects, and the session before your class is really used to prepare for that upcoming class. Then you attend your class on a Saturday, and the following Monday, you're now going to do a consolidation session, and you're going to run through everything Pilisa just told you on Saturday, and make sure that you've done your homework and you practice and apply questions and you understood all the concepts, or you needed to maybe read through something again. And then moving into your next week, you do again a Thursday prep session, class, and then your following Monday. And you follow this for 12, 13, 14 weeks, whatever it is. Some subjects are a little bit harder. Maybe the book's a bit fatter, or you're less familiar with the content. So now you are working on your second subject, which is maybe this fatter one. And for this one, I might need 4 study sessions. So this one, I've still got my class on a Saturday, so I've got my prep on a Wednesday, but I need 2 consolidation sessions. I'm going to ramp up my study hours slightly for this fatter subject. So you can see here that I've got Monday nights full, Tuesday nights full, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, need a break, got to go out for a meal, have a date night, do something other than study on a Friday night. And then Saturday is pretty full. You still got some free time. And then Sunday, you've got another study session. So what this aims to illustrate is really how to plan your studies, but also to show you that you can't really fit in a 3rd subject, okay? Especially if you are working a 9 to 5. First timers to CIMA often make that mistake, and they think, oh no, it's going to be just like university. Of course I can do 3 subjects in the first 6 months. And what happens, Pilisa, you shaking your head because you've seen that happen.
Yeah, quite often actually.
Yeah. And what ends up happening is you end up failing them all, okay? So you don't realize how much life gets in the way, how much things like, I mean, especially if you're quite new to work, or if you have a very demanding job, the next minute, or your Monday night session is out the window because you had to stay late for a meeting and you've got home way too late. And then your Wednesday, your boss schedules another meeting or something, and it very quickly happens that your life goes a little bit haywire, and it's a struggle to stay even just prepping for your 2 subjects, which is why I'm a big fan of 1 subject at a time, focus on it properly, get through it, pass it, then move on to the next one. I don't like to mix subjects. Also, for me personally, confuses me a little bit. Am I doing E1, P1? Is my name Arthur or Martha? So I like to do one subject at a time and get through it and pass it first time round. So I'm not saying that it can't be done. We have had also plenty of students who have done it. Usually it's somebody who is not working full time and doesn't have any other commitments, like they're moving house in this year, or they have got a newborn, or they've just got married or something like that. So obviously people who don't have all those extra commitments do find it easier to set time aside for studies, but most of us are in our, let me not give away my age here, but we're all in the working world, and we all probably have some other commitments outside of our job. So just be conscious of that when you are planning your studies. It's all about just kind of knowing what you're in for and making the right commitment. Especially if you're brand new to CIMA and you don't even know what you're getting into for your first subject, for your very first exam. Just take one subject. Just take one subject, get through it, pass it, a little bit of a then it's like a confidence booster, and then you can move on. Once you got through the one subject, you realize, oh, actually I did actually have space for a second subject, knowing what that commitment took. But don't jump in with 3 subjects off the bat. Okay, right, Pilisa, over to you.
So the only thing we should mix is our drinks when we celebrate when we've completed the strategic case study level, right? So don't mix the subject. I think that's a very important point. So now we look at how you'll prepare for the case study exam, right? So here, this is where it doesn't matter whether you follow the PQ or the FLP route, it all comes together at the case study level. And what we mean by that is that you actually write the exact same case study, not like for like, there's different variants, but basically you're treated as if you just completed your CIMA syllabus, irrespective of which route you took. So our best advice is to always try and attend our case study exam prep classes. We have an almost 100% pass rate across all levels, and we only need 4 days of your time to really get you ready for this exam, yeah? And really we show you how to do it in this slide. Normally, we recommend about 100 hours to prepare for your case study. And this is, of course, heavily dependent on how familiar you are with the underlying levels of the content from an enterprise perspective, performance perspective, and financial perspective, as we showed you during that overview of the subjects. The most important thing to know is that the case study exam draws very heavily on that underlying knowledge. And Charissa is going to talk you through more or less how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a caveat on this. So this is, no, actually, let's say you've completed your EP and F exams in the last 12 to 18 months. So ideally, that is what all students, they've quite recently completed their OT, so that knowledge is still quite fresh. Or if you're an FLP student, you've got through all of that FLP content. So it will come back quite quickly. With your case study exam, you're not learning anything new. All you are doing in your case study exam is you're learning how to apply that knowledge in a different way based on the case study pre-seen information that they give you. You'll then be asked a couple of questions to say, oh, do you remember everything from EP and F, and can you use it in the right context? Okay, so you typically don't need more than 100 hours to prepare for your case study exam, and this is absolutely legit. You can go trawl through our student testimonials. You really don't need more time than this. So if you take 6 weeks, that's all you need. 6 weekends, actually, just you don't even need to work during the week. So you would take your first Saturday, Sunday, and your second Saturday and Sunday, so your first 2 weeks, and you're going to go and revise the EP and F key concepts with your workbook. We give you a bit of a workbook. It's got some tasks, and it'll show you how to revise all the key concepts in it. Okay, make sure you don't have any knowledge gaps. Then you're going to read through your pre-seen in quite a bit of detail, which is the pack of information that CIMA will give you leading up to the exam window in preparation for your first class. Again, don't come into that first class without having read your pre-seen. Pilisa will have your head. Okay, so then in weeks 3 and 5, this is usually where we have our classes. Our timetable doesn't follow this exactly, but illustratively, your week 3, Saturday, Sunday, 9 to 5, you're going to come to class. Your week 5, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to come to class. You spend 2 weekends in the exam prep classes, or 4 full weekend days. So Saturday 9 to 5, Sunday 9 to 5 twice. And this is where we analyze the case study line by line. This is where you underlining, you talking amongst yourselves, you using your experience to relate back to the case study, you discussing it at length, notes in the margins on SWOT analysis and Mendelow's matrix and everything. And you're also going to do some mock exams. Then in week where you do the mock exam, do the debrief of the mock exam and all that. So you kind of, what you're really looking to find out is, what do you not know? So bank all that information in the mock exam, and then really it's now, okay, where am I falling short? Where are my gaps? So then in weeks 4 and 6, these are your break weeks. This is where you are now going to go and do a whole lot of question practice, task question practice, which is the format of the questions that they'll ask you in the case study. This is where you're going to go and fill in any knowledge gaps that were exposed in your class or in your mock exam, and then you're going to do a final mock or final 2 mocks. Okay, so that's really how we do it. Absolutely, that's about 90 to 100 hours. If you haven't done your EP and F subjects recently in your 12 to 18 months, you may need to put in a little bit more time. But I was by no means an A student at all through university or anything like that. And for my one exam, it had been, I want to say, 8 years since I'd written the P subject and 5 years since I'd written the E subject by the time I got round to my case study. And it actually came back with, thankfully, the help of Pilisa fairly quickly. So even if it has been a while, it still does come back quite quickly, but just make the most of these weekends. I couldn't do evenings, so I really did just stick to the schedule. At the time, I think I had quite a midget, quite a tiny child. And so didn't have a lot of time to spend on my studies, and I was fine with getting through that in the 6 weeks. Okay, so let's now.
Charissa, what you didn't mention was that you passed on your first attempt.
Yes,
I think that's
I did.
Yeah.
I did pass first time round. Thank you, Pilisa. Yes. There are some. Yeah, I really enjoyed coming to class. If money is tight and like you're going to do distance learning or you're going to do home study, whatever, if you're going to spend any money on CIMA, it would be on these exam prep classes. And I speak from experience, definitely. I don't think I would have got through. I know I wouldn't have got through that case study. And for two reasons. One is I had a great lecturer, and 2, it is definitely the exposure that I had to the other students in the class and the experience that they brought that I didn't have. So I didn't have that context, which I really needed in the case study. So yeah, I'm going to put that out there. But let's move on to FLP quickly. Vanessa cracks my knuckles for talking too much. So if with FLP, you don't have the option of attending your OT classes, you don't do an online course, you don't do your own thing, you don't do home study, because as I'll remind you, it's all on the platform. So to doing the FLP route, you only have to do the 3 case study exams, but you're going to do all your studies on the CIMA FLP platform, where they do the continuous assessment. So all the study material is included, all the prep material for the case studies are on this platform. You just buy your subscription and you work through the competency questions as quickly as possible to unlock the next case study. If you work really fast, you can pass your case study first time, you then work through the next level and the next case study and the next level and the next case study. So usually, you can do it in as little as a year, and we have had a couple of students. It hasn't been around for all that long, so we don't have a lot who did it in their first year. Most students tend to do all those 3 levels over 2 years. So you have to buy your FLP subscription through an accredited tuition provider, such as IBTC, and we sell it in 3 different packages. So what's included when you get it from FLP? The standard package includes all CIMA registration fees, all exemption fees, all access to study material, self-assessments, across all the subjects, across all the levels for the duration of your subscription period, which is either 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years. It also includes access to case study prep material for all 3 case studies, and it includes 2 exam tokens for OPS case study, which is 1 exam and 1 resit, 2 for MAN case study, 1 exam and 1 resit, 2 tokens for STRAT case study, 1 exam and 1 resit. Also, the standard package includes the IBTC handholding, which is we assign somebody to support you and check in on your progress and make sure that you are hitting all the dates that you need to hit, and keep moving you forward. If you take FLP Premium, it's everything from the standard, but including our case study exam prep classes, so the ones I was just talking about, one for each level. So again, the 6 exam tokens that you get on your subscription package, you also get 6 tokens for classes with IBTC. So ops level, it's 1 class token plus a resit, one class token plus a resit, etc. Okay, which covers you for a possible resit if necessary. Then today we are also launching, you're the first to hear about it, our latest FLP Premium Plus, where we also include, and this is quite, this is really relevant for students who have been exempt up to a whole level. So up to a case study exam. We'll include your pillar revision lecture videos for those tricky subjects. So like P2, is that the most tricky? Is that the most difficult one?
Yeah, Charissa, that's the most difficult one, and one can see obviously by the lowest pass rates in CIMA. But of course, if you study with us at IBTC, your chances of passing are a lot higher. I think just a word of warning on this. I saw other colleges selling the FLP program and boasting that it includes classes for E, P, and F. It's a nice idea, but just as a word of warning, I'd warn you against it. You don't need it. You don't need extra classes or extra books. In fact, it becomes a waste of time, and obviously, to an extent, these packages include extra stuff, and extra stuff you're obviously being charged for. So I'd say it's actually not needed. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. I strongly believe less is more, especially when you value your time and you don't want all these additional resources to go through. So make sure that you are only take what you really need. Okay, so then let's look at the FLP and how to plan your studies. Okay, so if you're starting, as an example, on the ops level, most students tend to buy the 2-year subscription period, and you should be able to complete all 3 levels in 2 years. So if you start on operational level and you were, for example, to start on the 1st of March, then your first case study opportunity will be in the next May, which is 3 months later. And CIMA recommends about 75 hours study time for each of your EP and F continuous assessment for each of those subjects. So all the continuous assessments for E will take you 75 hours, P another 75, and F another 75. So, and then which you'd aim to finish doing by around mid-April, so that you can have your 6 weeks to prep for your case study, which I spoke about earlier. So it's still 6 weeks to prepare if you FLP or PQ. So you kind of want to finish up with all your competency stuff by the middle of April so that you can write your May case study. Okay, so then you write in May, you pass, fan-freaking-tastic, and then you can move on to another level, or you can, because you're on a 2-year subscription, you can take a little bit of a breather, or if you don't want to race through all the content in your first 3 months, because it's your first time doing CIMA, you might want to first aim for that August case study anyway. So you can see that I will have already got through 1. Then I want to move on to management level, the same thing. I can either take 3 or 6 months to do that, and then I'll write in February, and then I want to move on to strategic level, which again, I will be done by August. Sometimes, as we know, life does get in the way and it doesn't go exactly according to plan. So if you started on the 1st of March, you actually have until the following February to write your last case study sitting, which is great. It's plenty of time to get through all 3 levels. Okay, so the ideal start dates are the same, are the months following a case study sitting. So like everything, there are slightly more ideal, slightly less ideal start dates and pros and cons to what you are choosing. So please chat to us before you decide. You don't actually even need to chat to us. We send you all the pros and cons in an email and say, are you sure you're making the right decision about your start date? But basically, you want to make sure that you're including as many exam opportunities within your subscription period as possible. So as an example, if you were to have a start date of the 15th of February, you will miss that February case study exam sitting. So it's kind of a bit of a waste for those few weeks. If you're Yeah, okay, so I won't go into too much of that. So just back to the 1st of March being quite an ideal start date, because you then, if you start even 1 year or 2 years, you are valid all the way until the February 2025 sitting, or the February 2026 sitting if you start on the 1st of March. For that, you need to register quite soon though, because registration for that will close mid-Feb. Fantastic. Okay. Pilisa, do you want to talk us through some finance options for FLP?
Yeah, I think,
What?
Charissa, yeah, I think to your point where you said, exemptions are important, finances tend to be also as important, right? So how you fund your studies is quite important. So we actually have two finance options for you. So we're going to start with, if you do the traditional route, or also known as the PQ route, where you'll buy 1 or 2 subjects at a time. These range from around about 4,000 Rand to about 8,000 Rand. Of course, depending on the subject and the study method you choose between the home study and lectures and all of that. Yeah. So you can use our payment plan to pay for your studies, which is actually interest-free, which is hardly unheard of, eh? You pay a small amount, a small deposit, and the rest you can put on a 4-month, call it debit order. Obviously, this is not available for FLP. This is just for the traditional route. But I must say, I've got a few little ones at school, and all my fees are always coming with interest. I miss it about 2 days, it comes with interest. With us, we got a interest-free finance option for you. On the FLP route, it's a lot more quite capital intensive upfront. As we said, it's a substantially more expensive package. Ranges there from 62,500 to 160,000. Once again, it depends on the length of subscription. The longer your subscription, obviously, the more you pay. So it says there, to pay for your FLP studies, you can obviously look at other options that we have, such as taking a study loan with our loan partner. We have partnered with Capitec Education Finance, which you can pay over a longer period than you can with the 4 payment period that we have. So it's a longer payment period, which does reduce what you pay on a month-to-month basis from an installment point of view. And they tend to use an easy desktop application with a quick turnaround. In other words, you can do it at the comfort of your sit, really. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Pilisa. Okay, then we're kind of heading towards the end of the presentation a bit. If you are looking for more resources, we also have an open day experience page, which I think someone will pop in the chat shortly. And we'll also send the link to this recording to anybody who's attended today, and it will be available on this CIMA open day experience page. But you'll be able to, there are also videos on different topics, like how to complete a level in a year, where we go into a bit more detail about that, how to plan your year out. We also go into detail on a winning at case study, which is really the best way to tackle a case study and what our best tips and tricks are. You can also look at our online portal, what our videos look like, and our online tests and things like that. So there's quite a lot to see there. So please go in and have a look. I think it takes, in the end, takes you through to our YouTube page. Yeah, so go, if you are looking for more, please pop there when you have a chance. Then we also always just like to share a little bit about what our students say. So if you don't follow us on social media, I'll just share what some of our students say. They're mostly comments about the support that we give them. I think I mentioned in the very beginning that one of our things that we're renowned for is our remarkable service. We call it hand-holding. We really genuinely care about how you do on your CIMA journey, or whatever you're studying with us, and we want to make sure that you pass. So you can see here, the constant motivation from IBTC really made me believe I made the right choice in joining them. Or what was most helpful was IBTC turnaround time on my emails. You know, we pride ourselves, it's one of our key measures that we track, which is our turnaround time, and did our team meet the SLA on all the incoming tickets. So we do track those kind of things. So really, we work hard for your success. Okay, then that's pretty much. Oh, no, it's not the end. Sorry, how to book. It's quite straightforward. Now that you can plan your studies and you know how to pass, it's quite easy to get a quote or to make a booking on our site. Go to our website, select CIMA, look at subjects and fees. That takes you through to the cart, and here you can select your subjects, your study methods. You can see all of our prices at a glance, and then you can add to your cart what you need for a year, for getting a quote for your company, or just select one subject. You can also add your institute fees to our invoice. When I speak about institute fees, I mean your CIMA registration fee, or your CIMA exam fee, or your CIMA annual subscription fee, which you'll have to pay because it's professional qualification. You have to subscribe to the body. And what we do is, for people who don't have a credit card or who need one invoice in rands, in the big old SSR, then we'll give you an invoice for that, and we pay it directly to the UK in pounds. So we take that admin off your hands, but it is much cheaper and quicker for you to do it via credit card. So while we do offer the service, if you want your fees to reflect quickly and you don't want to have to pay, obviously exchange rates and administrative fees that are included in our third-party fees, then rather pay it straight through the CIMA site. It's quicker and cheaper. So also for an improved experience, we also recommend that you create a profile with IBTC. I think most of you will be on our mailing list now anyway, because you've signed up for the open day. And that is pretty much it. I am a little bit over schedule, but I'm now going to open the floor for any questions.
I think thanks Charissa. I think if anybody, or if there's anything you missed, you joined late, you had load shedding, like my lights flickering on and off, because like Charissa said, you can create a profile on our webpage if you haven't done so, and we'll be in contact with you, and you can also have a look at our experience page which you've shared. But even better, we have sessions every Tuesday where you can join us for free for Speak to Us. It's more like having a cup of coffee with us. It's very casual. Come in, ask your questions, as many questions as you want. You can come in as many times as you want. We have those sessions on at 4 o'clock on Tuesday and 6 o'clock on Thursdays. And all you got to do to get that communication is really just create a profile on our website, and you'll have free access to those. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Pilisa. I totally forgot about it.